What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Moments with the Marcelins. My name is Jun.
And my name is Stephanie.
And we are the Marcelins. Our moments together will be centered on three things: transparency, tools, and truth. We are now close to summertime. It is now summertime.
I know.
Are you excited?
I am very excited. It's also a very bittersweet moment because this is last episode of season 3. So I think that honestly flew by so fast.
Yeah, for sure.
The last 2 conversations that we were able to upload was a very powerful interview that we had with Pastor Salgueros, and I feel like after that we've kind of just also been on this topic of like, you know, just like internal healing and like, you know, just like the pain and suffering that we all endure in our lives, like how to heal properly from that, and how therapy has also like played a huge part in our lives.
Absolutely.
And I know we've been very open about that as well, just in our own journey, and even on season 1 and season 2, like we talked about like things that we went through and like, you know, just kind of where that started in our lives. So
and it's also Mental Health Awareness Month. So by the time you will have seen this episode, it will already be June. But I actually wore this really cool shirt, and nothing wrong with pink, fellas. It says loved, valued, important, worthy, needed, beautiful, and some things on the back. But it's a really cool shirt. I think so. And so it's a Mental Health Awareness Month, and you know, we just started, you know, we thought it'd be best to talk about how, you know, therapy has helped us alongside our journey. But before we get into that, we did have a trip. We were in Las Vegas.
I know.
And we had an amazing time. We had a great time. It was good to kind of disconnect, get away, go and see other parts of the world. Prior to going to Vegas, I had not gone further than Texas. And so to be on the West Coast, it was really cool. We had a really good time. We actually made a stop in Arizona as well. Grand Canyon. Yeah.
I was freaking out. I'm not gonna lie. The pictures will say otherwise. But like, I'm not super scared of heights because like I'll get on a roller coaster without a problem. I will. Hey, listen to what I was gonna say.
Okay, go ahead.
You know, I will get on a roller coaster without a problem. I'll like walk up something really high and like see it. But when we went to the Grand Canyon, there was like no railing. And I feel like because there was no like the end of how far I could go, just like I didn't know if I continued to go further that I could literally fall off the cliff. Like it was like that. So they would just tell you like stay 10 feet away. So for me, I'm like, I can't even measure what 10 feet are from like the cliff because I'm like super scared. So you know what I mean? Like it's windy. It's like beautiful view, by the way. Definitely worth the trip. But I stayed maybe like 50 feet away from the cliff.
Probably 100.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know if this is like far enough.
I was trying to take pictures, and she's like, "No, don't go too far. You're by the cliff."
He kept on like going back, and I'm just like, "No, like stop right there. Like stop. You're giving me so much anxiety." And then you were like jumping and like doing flips on the cliff. I was literally like,
I don't know. I'm afraid of heights, but something just kicked in while I was on this trip. It's like the little kid in me, just like being told not to do something and just kind of want to do it.
Yeah, I guess.
It was like an adrenaline. So we had a great time though.
Yeah, it was super fun. Super fun.
Had a great
definitely
time.
Going to do it again.
Yes, and highly recommend. So let's go ahead and get into this episode's discussion. You're probably like, let's get to the topic, but just thought we wanted to share that with y'all. Highly recommend it. So oftentimes when we talk about, you know, therapy, there's sometimes a negative connotation that comes from it, depending on who or what circle you're talking to. And so some people look at therapy as something that is for crazy people, but I want to debunk some of those myths. Therapy is for people, whether you feel like you have it together, it's challenging. I think therapy, we all can benefit from therapy in our lives. You have other circles, you know, some religious circles where they feel like all you need to do is pray. If you pray, everything's going to be all right. And so it starts and ends with prayer. And while prayer is important and it's the, you know, what we need to do first, it shouldn't be our last resort, there also needs to be therapy. I know I've stated it in previous episodes, but I love what Dr. Anita Phillips says when she talks about prayer and therapy. She says, prayer is my weapon, but therapy is my strategy. And so it's not an either or, but it's a both and. Right. And what are some of the benefits that you see from therapy?
Yeah, well, I think adding on to that and answering part of the question is that, you know, we go to specialists for all of the other areas of our life, you know. If you're sick, you're going to go to a doctor, you know. If your sight is a little, you know, you start, you know, you can't see clearly anymore, you go to an ophthalmologist, you know, an eye doctor. You know what I mean? You have a specific condition, you need an x-ray, you go to a radiologist. Like, it's very specific, like, you know what I mean, practices and methods and strategies out there for you to find wholeness and healing. And so sometimes our emotional well-being, we don't seek after that specialty because maybe our circles never taught us that that was okay.
Yeah.
And because some of these myths that, or, you know what I mean, beliefs that happen in culture, and this can be culture just generally. This is also family culture. This is also, like, you know what I mean, our own experiences and things that we've learned. And something that I heard recently is that sometimes we inherit definitions of certain things in our lives. And this could be one of those things that you inherited. You inherited a incomplete or false definition of what therapy is. And therefore, you feel like it's not for you. Because, you know, this was what the family would think that therapy was. And it wasn't. And it's not like that. Yeah. And so
you bring up such a great point when we talk about different cultures and different circles. And I know I kind of touched on the church culture, or some churches. I don't want to make a generalization, but I was even talking to a relative and having a conversation yesterday on what he thought about therapy. And he's like, not for me.
Yeah.
You just get over it, you deal with it. And it was just interesting to see, you know, like you stated, like what we have inherited, whether from society, you know, or family or church, whatever culture, and how those things have kind of influenced us. And I thought it was interesting because some people how they view therapists and through their lens is very interesting when you have these conversations.
Absolutely.
And two people could actually even be in the same home and have two completely different perspectives on therapy, which is very, very, very interesting to say the least. But it's definitely beneficial. It's definitely helpful, and you know, let's get into a couple of reasons of why that is.
Yeah, absolutely. I think first of all, you have another definition of a counselor therapist that I've heard before is that they are a heart healer. And so, you know, we've all endured like tough situations in life, you know, trauma, loss, grief, pain. Like, if you haven't experienced anything like that, keep living and you'll find out, right? But within all of that, it's just like there's so many emotions and just things that you have to process through in life, that having someone to guide you through that process of healing, of wholeness, of forgiveness, of whatever the case is really important. And I think that that's a huge benefit, because sometimes I know I was in a situation like when I was younger, it's just like I don't even know where to start. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you've gone through so much. Like, you have expectations, you have your own personal, you know, things that you're going through, trauma or crisis in life. And you're just like, again, things begin to pile up that, you know, when you're in this moment of like, God help me, like, deal with what I'm going through, you don't know where to start. And so I feel like having a heart healer, you know what I mean? Or some type of like, also kind of like a coach, you know what I mean, to help you and guide you through those things. And then some of the emotions that these situations bring can be very heavy and very layered, that you feel like you're dealing with this, but in actuality it's something completely different.
A symptom.
Yes, so you're just like, oh, I'm just angry all the time, and I'm just here for the anger. But then they're like, actually, it's more than just that. It's not just anger. It's because you're hurt, and it's because you're hurt that you haven't dealt with the hurt of your life. And this is why anger is your first like you know, what you initially like want help for, but it's more than that. So I feel like having someone to coach you through all of those multi-layered items in life is just so important.
Absolutely.
And that was my story. Like I went and I was like, I'm always angry. Like, can you like, you know, help me with my anger? And then they're like, okay, well, let's go there. Let's unpack that. And it just ended up being so much more than just my anger. You know what I mean? That was a symptom of what I was going through.
And sometimes, like, even just hearing it, sometimes that can be like a little, like, you can get a little bit of anxiety with all of that. You're like, I'm coming here for this, and I got all these issues, and that's perfectly normal. You're okay.
See how really broken you are.
It's okay. But there's another part of it. Another perspective is, man, like, let's chase this rabbit hole. You get what I'm saying? And so for me, I'm like, oh, okay, this makes sense now.
Right.
Why this? Because this connects to this, and this connects to this, and you know, and so. It's whether positive or negative things, because you know therapy is not only for negative things. Sometimes you celebrations of things, achievements in life, and so you know when you start connecting the dots and the family origins, and so that has definitely helped me a lot. You know, something else that I feel like that is good when we talk about you know therapy is. I think you already kind of touched on we have a neutral party. You also learn about yourself. I think. For me, the tools that I gain. Okay, how can I apply this to my life? The tools, the skills, the techniques. How can I apply this to my life? It was through counseling and therapy that we learned the care cycle. If you haven't already, go ahead and check out, I believe, episode 3 of season 3. I'm not sure.
We'll link it right here.
Yeah, we'll link it in the bio. But it was through therapy that, you know, we got those skills and kind of gave our emotions a voice. And so therapy provides those skill sets that you need to kind of navigate through life and make it simpler. Because for me, like, I'm all about, you know, the philosophical side of it, but I also want to know how can I make this practical in my life. And so for me, I feel like therapy has definitely helped me to be able to make those things practical, you know, and so that's definitely helped me a lot.
Absolutely. I think another part of that is that, you know, as you're unpacking areas of your life, sometimes, you know, you don't know what resources are even out there for you during this part of this healing journey. And so, again, our healing journey is forever long. So it's not like a set destination.
Say that again.
Our healing journey is forever long. Like, you're going to be healing until Jesus comes back. Like, you know, and so it's not like a destination. Yes, there's goals and there's like milestones that are important, you know what I mean, for you to achieve this. And hey, like, wow, I'm better at this than I used to be, and that's awesome. But it's forever long. So within that is that, you know, they have resources that you and I may not be aware of, and so that is just really big because they're able to refer you to those things, you know, so you can be whole, you know. The other part is really just like that safe place to learn and practice, you know what I mean. Even like social skills, which I think is really important too, you know, like I think our generation is so connected but yet so disconnected at the same time, and so I think therapy allows us to engage with that area of our lives that maybe we're not used to touching on or being in tune with, you know, in our other circles.
Like, yeah, even with us, like whenever we were going through a crisis in our marital relationship, and just being able to have someone who was a neutral party that didn't have any biases, that didn't have any, you know,
their own agenda.
It was helpful, and so that's what also therapy provides, because it allows you to kind of have those conversations and get through what you need to get through. If you got a really good therapist, without the other person sometimes cutting you off, because again, different cultures, different families, you might be at a place where you can articulate yourself, but your family member might not be. And I think when we talk about therapists and therapy, you're in a place that is safe. You know, and if it's too much for you at that moment, you can press pause and so they give you those skill sets that you need to be able to navigate those, navigate through those sessions and those seasons in your life. And so I found that that has helped. For us personally, we do Christian counseling. We do Christian therapy. For me, and you can add to this, why that is important for me is that I want to make sure whatever the therapist is prescribing is aligned with scripture. That for me is very important. And so, it'd be weird for me to be in a session with a therapist who may not believe in God, prescribing things to me, or, you don't even believe what I believe, and just different things like that. I'm like, that might work for someone else, but
that doesn't align with what I believe.
That doesn't align with what I believe and my values. And so, if I think it's important finding a therapist that holds those same values that you do, and have those same beliefs, because there's benefits that definitely come from it. Okay, you're sharing this. Okay, how does this align with scripture? And when you have scripture to go ahead and go along with what you're saying, then that, oh my God, it's so much better, because I'm like, oh wow, like I've read this text a million times. That's what you were talking about in that, and this is the application of that. And when we look at Psalms and we look at Lamentations, you see therapy taking place just all throughout scripture when you really read it. But like that works to me. Like when you look at David, and he's literally talking to himself. My soul, why are you downcast? That is a form of the care cycle. Like, how am I feeling right now? And so he's giving his emotions a voice. And so that is healthy. And when we see that in scripture and we apply it to our lives, man, like it's like a light bulb that just switches on, and there's growth that kind of comes from that. How has Christian counseling helped you?
I completely agree. I think, first of all is that, our values and our beliefs are really important to us. And so it's just like, if you're giving me ways of how to apply this particular area of healing in my life, like, because I've only heard, never spoken to a counselor who's not Christian, and I'm sure that there's really good ones, but sometimes their methods can be a little bit different than someone who is a Christian, and they wouldn't practice certain things because they know that, or they don't believe in those specific methods. And so because of that, I felt that it was, beneficial to also have a Christian counselor, and I haven't gone to someone who isn't, so I don't know, and I wouldn't know, what that is like. But I truly have found the benefit when there is both. So I'm sure that there is, a lot of different people that may be in different spaces and places in their life when it comes to therapy. So what advice would you share with someone who's on the fence when it comes to therapy or starting therapy in their life?
Yeah, I think that's perfectly normal. For some of us, we were taught not to speak to someone that we don't know, that's outside of the family. And so to then, 20, 30 years of doing something and then immediately just completely change that and talk to a complete stranger can be foreign for some. And so I want to let you know that I definitely understand that. I would say the advice that I would give is, one is to have an open mind. Have an open mind, because we don't know it all. Something else that I would add to that is to have an open heart. Have an open heart. I feel like when you open up your heart, there's no limits to the healing that can take place whenever you have an open mind and an open heart. I also look at, therapists. I use this analogy all the time with people who sometimes are on the fence. Like, they're like restaurants. Where you go, because it's like, okay, you go one place, you try it out, you're like, okay, this is great service, I'm gonna come back. If not, or it was okay and it didn't meet your expectations, you can continue to shop around. And so if you go to that first session and you don't feel like there was a connection that was made, or their style didn't work for you, like, you can continue searching around. Like, there's hundreds of thousands, if not even more, therapists, and we have more resources now than we've ever had before, especially now with the internet. And so, I would encourage them, open mind, open heart, and just keep looking around till you find one that suits you and fits you. What would you share?
Maybe just some encouragement that one of the best investments that you can do in your life is with your own spiritual and emotional well-being. And so, you know, you invest in a lot of different things, right? You invest in your education, you invest in your health, you invest in
your clothes,
material things to have the best and to try to be the best. But a lot of the things that we live through and walk through in life are stemming from what's happening internally. And so even if you have all the great things around you, if you are not doing good, other things will also reap that.
Yeah.
So to be the best person for yourself, you know what I mean? I think it starts there. It can be very scary, and maybe some people are already in that journey, and maybe you got discouraged midway because it got hard. And so I want to encourage you, don't shy away from the hurt and the pain. I know when I was going through my sessions, it became very emotional and just very overwhelming because you're like flooded with emotions. You know, you're unpacking and unlayering a lot of different things. There's, you know, some homework or assignments or, you know, journaling that goes along with it depending on your therapist. And sometimes it just felt like, oh my gosh, I can't. This is just too much, you know? And I remember taking a break and I was like, I don't know if I want to go back, but I started seeing the benefits of what it was, you know what I mean? Like what it was doing to my life emotionally. And so don't shy away from the pain or be too scared. I think it's something that, it's a great investment into ourselves. And you know what I mean? Again, you pamper yourselves day in and day out with a lot of different things. This is just one of those areas that maybe we haven't really tapped into.
It is a process. It is a journey, but embrace it. And you know, like you stated earlier, the journey towards complete healing is going to be something that's going to happen until Jesus returns. And the greatest treasure that you can have is relationships. That is the greatest treasure that you can have, is that of relationships with God, and then relationships with the people that he's placed in your life. And having healthier relationships takes therapy, you know. And I think it's important to understand, you know, I think I heard a joke, something along the lines of, well, I don't need therapy. Check your relationships and people will probably tell you, no, you do need a little therapy.
A little bit of it.
And so I use that joke to make a serious point that, you know, it's definitely beneficial. Make sure that you're doing well mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. Relationships are important. And, you know, if there's, you know, any resources that you need, we'll go ahead and provide some in the description. Thank you all for supporting us another season. Season 3 is officially wrapped up. And so we're going to take a couple of months off, kind of, because we're going to be working, you know, There'll
be other stuff that we're going to be uploading soon. So stay tuned for that.
Stay tuned. It's going to be an amazing summer. Really looking forward to that. Thank you all for the support, for the love, and for just, you know, just journeying with us throughout this process. I can't believe that we just completed 3 seasons.
I know.
3 seasons. Thank you all again.
Let us know what your favorite episode has been so far down in the comments. We would love to hear from you.
Well, with that being said, y'all be easy out there. Take care. God bless.
And much love.
Much love.